For more on this, I'm joined from Delaware by former Trump campaign chair Rob Artlett and Professor Scott Lucas from the Clinton Institute, University College Dublin. Good evening to both of you. Thank you for joining me. Rob, I just want to start with you. Is Zohran Mamdani a communist?
Well, yes. Thank you, first off, for the opportunity to be with you and your audience. It is always an honor to do so. Look, he is a self-proclaimed socialist, so President Trump has interpreted that as a communist. So these are self-proclamations, if you would, of himself and his voters. So there's no mistake of who he is and what his desire is and what his intentions are. So yes, President Trump has absolutely labeled him as such, because that's exactly what he has also identified as, based on his own beliefs, based on his own background, based on his own convictions. But at the end of the day, he is going to be the next mayor of New York City. There was an election. One has to honor that very election. And now let's see what can get done. Can a communist, if you would, work with the president of the United States as it relates to the best interest of New York City? And it's also, we should also point out, well, let's not forget where President Trump is from. He knows New York City better than perhaps the incoming mayor. So I think it's going to be a very interesting and very intriguing dialogue, and I'm looking forward to seeing what comes out of it.
Scott, let's go to you and just pick up on what Rob said there. Do you think a communist mayor will be able to work with the US President Donald Trump?
Zohran Mamdani is not a communist, and it's best to expose that lie, and it is a lie. Zohran Mamdani is a democratic socialist, and Rob knows that. And Rob knows that many, in fact, European countries, many countries around the world have socialist administrations, and they provide, in many cases, effective services. They have effective communities. They have lessons they can offer people, just as conservative governments can offer lessons. So to call Zohran Mamdani a communist, it's the politics of insult that draws upon an American history, which is the Red Scares, after World War I, after World War II. And it's effectively saying anyone we don't like, we're going to call an extremist. It would be far more productive, and I hope this will happen today, that both Mayor-elect Mamdani and President Trump will focus on the issues. And it'd be interesting now to talk about those issues. For example, is it right and proper to try to bring down the cost of housing when many millions of New Yorkers suffer from difficulties with that? Is it right to bring down the cost of food and having some neighborhoods that don't have provision of adequate grocery stores? Is it right to provide fare free transport? Is it right to provide free childcare? And it'd be interesting to get, if Donald Trump won't say that, at least some of his supporters to say, are these good policies, not because they're right or left or socialist or non-socialist, but because they help many Americans who could use that assistance at this point?
Rob, you're a Republican. You support Donald Trump. Do you agree with what Scott's saying, that these are actually good policies?
Sure, if you want to live in a socialistic country, which is why America got away from. Let's not forget who America is and why we left Europe. We don't want to be another European country. We are America, whereas we put the power in the people. And Mamdani and his policies want to put the government in power and not that of the people. It's really quite that simple. It's very, very polarizing, very, very different beliefs. We are America, and it's we the people that are in power, not the government. You've got a guy who's going to be the mayor of New York City, the largest city in America, one of the most powerful cities in the world, who wants the government to be the solution for all. The government is one who comment on a single one of those policies? The food. It is the government that is the biggest problem of all, and that's why I think the farce of the reality of the situation. It's not the government that is the solution; they are the problem, and I think that's what you're going to see today.
Scott, go for it.
Oh, I mean, let's just cut through that. And you'll notice that Rob didn't engage with a single one of those policies on the substance. Rob also
Sure, I
ignored a
did.
lot of American history. No, you did not, sir. For example, you did not engage with the question of rent controls and dealing with that. You did not engage with the cost of transport. You did not engage with many people cannot afford to go to work because they can't get adequate child care. You didn't. You offered slurs. You offered a slur on socialism when, in fact, many American communities have had socialist administrations. That's an absolute falsehood that somehow America left socialism behind when it left Europe behind. You actually offered a falsehood when you said, oh, this is a question of the people who do not want big government, when Donald Trump, as you well know, has expanded the power of government, in fact, in many dangerous ways, in many ways that actually are threatening people in the United States. So once again, bring this back to the level of community and try to avoid insult and answer me this fundamental question. If Zohran Mamdani has funded these proposals that cost $7 billion with proposals for $9 billion in revenue generation, in other words, if he's covering the cost of the policies, what are the problems with the policies? And don't retreat into insult or slurs. What are the problems with the policies?
Well, I guess time will tell, right? So he has made a lot of promises, and I think, why is he going to Washington? Because he needs federal dollars. What you're saying is, yes, housing is very expensive in New York. Food, rent, all of these things is very true. But what is the government going to do, the federal government in New York City? What they want is more government money to supplement the expense. All that does is inflate the expense. Right?
That's not what happened. I just told you, Rob. I just told you that's not true. That's not true, Rob. They're not going to ask for federal money.
Tell me what is not true.
It's not true that they're asking for federal money to fund these programs. In fact, if you had read Mr. Mamdani's proposals, you'll know that he is proposing it through raising of revenue at the city level and through cooperation with the state government.
Yeah.
He's going to Washington to ensure that Donald Trump does not fulfill the illegal threat, and it is probably illegal, to withhold federal funding from New York City, federal funding that has been given to New York City. In other words, he's going there to try to offset and prevent that blackmail rather than ask for more federal funds.
But Scott and Rob, Donald Trump and Mamdani meet today. We have to remember that. But Mamdani also said the plan was to increase taxes for New York's wealthiest residents to pay for a lot of his policies. And this has been a concern.
Well, certainly, yeah, you have an increase of 2%. It's 2% on the highest income owners in New York and across corporate taxation. Now, 2% is a tax increase, which in fact many New Yorkers have actually said, including the wealthiest, that they will support. What happened is that Trump, and I hope Rob won't repeat this slur, is they repeated this scare that wealthy New Yorkers will just flee the city. Indeed, the governor of Texas actually, as a publicity stunt, said, oh, you all can come down to Texas. Now, the fact of the matter is that Republican administrations in the past, at times, have increased taxes to pay for programs. That had happened, in fact, during the first Bush administration. So the question is not here whether this is communist or socialist, but whether a 2% tax increase is a fair increase if it provides services for many people in the community that will increase the productivity in that community and bring revenues into the city.
So, Rob, I want you to answer that. Do you think that that is a fair rise on the New York's wealthiest to tax them more to pay for the poor?
It doesn't matter what I think. It's all about what the New Yorkers think, because, you know, at the end of the day, I own a real estate firm here in Delaware, and you know who many of my clients are from? They're from New York. And you know why they're escaping New York and New Jersey and other states in the Northeast is because of the high taxes. Delaware is a lower tax state. It's all about that. So it's not what I believe, it's what the people think. And if they think they're getting paid or getting taxed more than what they think they should be, they're out of there. It's common sense. So, you know, you can say 2% or 10%, it doesn't matter what I think, it's what the people perceive. And should people get free buses? Should people get free healthcare? Right? That is the ultimate decision. Do they want that? Do they think that who's going to pay for it? It's those that pay a lot of money in taxes are the ones that pay for those who pay little to no taxes. So if the billionaires and multimillionaires in New York City think they're going to get overly taxed, they're out of there. It's really quite that simple. And what will New York do at that point when all their revenue goes away? What will they do? That's a question I would like to know. What will they do?
Well, Rob, I'd like to know why you keep using scare tactics, because in fact,
They're not
New
scare
York has
tactics.
raised taxes.
Every single day I have
They
clients
also-
that come here because of the high taxes in New York City. That's not a scare tactic, that's reality.
The population of Wilmington, Delaware has actually been decreasing in recent years. In fact, the population of New York City has been increasing. So if you want to deal with the facts here, deal with the fact that because most businesses are located in New York City, and because many businesses believe, in fact, that it is proper to pay for taxes to provide for effective infrastructure, transport, and so on, New York has actually been increasing in population and in its productivity in recent years. Those are the facts.
Rob and Scott, we're just going to have to wrap this up. One final thought from both of you. When I think about Donald Trump, you know, he was so different when he came. He was a different sort of president we've ever seen before, and I think everyone would agree with that. We see Zohran Mamdani as mayor of New York, completely different, you know, not from the political establishment, both men. So in some ways, they have something in common. Rob, I don't know what you think about this. Do you think they could find common ground to work together and actually have a good working relationship?
I do. I think you have to find what is in common, and I think that's what I'm looking forward to seeing how the conversation plays out today at the White House. But make no mistake, there's two different beliefs and different philosophies: bigger government, and they are the answer, or empower the people and let them make their own decisions. It's really two big difference in their philosophies and their convictions and their belief systems. And so America is all about we the people, empowering of the people, make their own decisions, and not big government. And he is just the opposite of that. But at the end of the day, he was elected, and we will honor that, obviously. And so I look forward to seeing how a socialist and a communist will be as the mayor of New York City. It'll be fun to see.
Scott, final thought from you, because I guess, as we're just talking here, proof is always in the pudding. It's always good to have these fabulous policies and promises, but can he actually follow them through?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's sad. It's sad that instead of actually dealing with the possibilities, that you have the result to insults and lies that we've heard in just the past 30 seconds. So let's put this quite bluntly. Donald Trump is a person who has expanded the power of government. He's done it to threaten the deportations of millions of people. He's done it to cut food assistance to almost 40 million Americans. He's done it with a cut of almost $1 trillion in Medicare and Medicaid. So his expansion of government, which has actually increased the federal government debt by $4 trillion over the next 10 years, hasn't necessarily helped people. What Zohran Mamdani is laying out, not as a communist, not as a socialist, are programs in terms of transport, housing, in terms of basic food, to try to help people, to try to help that community. It is my hope that Donald Trump could actually embrace those possibilities to help Americans if they're in New York and elsewhere, rather than using the politics of insults and rather than using horrible, antiquated labels that don't apply. Because at the end of the day, it's actually the politics of being constructive rather than destructive that we should be looking for.
Rob Artlett and Professor Scott Lucas, great to speak to you both, and we'll see the outcome of that meeting between the two men later today.